The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Goal! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC! Alright guys, what is up? It is Hector Flores, host of the Jesus Christ, I don't okay. Host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix from, you will find. I'm okay, if you guys are watching the video. So obviously we have an audio version of this podcast, but the video version, you're gonna see me messing around with his baseball hat because I don't know how to use a mirror, apparently. All right, anyways, who cares about the hat? Kind of care about the hat. But anyways, if you guys want the full video version of this podcast and just witnessing all that, it is available on YouTube. So the full video podcast will be available on BellyUp's YouTube channel, and then shorter clips from these episodes are put in our personal YouTube. So the Insert Name FC YouTube channel will have the shorter video version of the podcast. So it'll be more like subject by subject versus the full video podcast, which will be available on a BellyUp's YouTube channel. And of course, you can find it on GolzTV, GolzTV, along with the shorter clips that are a little bit more digestible. So yeah, and then follow us on Instagram, X, Facebook at Insert Name FC. We do post very frequently. As a matter of fact, we just posted the jersey bet between me, Edward, and Spencer. If you guys aren't aware, me and Edward and Spencer used to have a singing bet, but because obviously now that YouTube is a form of where you can listen to this podcast, we don't want to violate any copyright issues. So because of that, we don't do the singing bet anymore. So last end of year episode was the last time that you'll see the singing bet be done. Now it is a straight out jersey bet where the loser has to buy the winner a jersey of their choice. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because we posted the standings. Is not final yet. We are one game away from the jersey bet conclusion, which is Manchester Derby happened. It was a 0-0 draw, giving Edward a 1-point lead over me, but the final match day, decision day, I guess you could say, for the jersey bet is a Clásico. So Real Madrid versus Barcelona will decide whether or not I win the jersey bet or Edward wins the jersey bet. Regardless, Spencer lost. Spencer lost, it means he has to buy a jersey for either me or Edward. So we'll see how that all transpires. It's really crazy to think that the year we don't do a singing bet is when Edward is doing fairly well for himself. But yeah, so we if you guys want to see all that stuff, it is posted on our social media on Instagram, X, and Facebook. You can check it out there at Insert Name FC. But yeah, man, this episode 213. We have headlines. Well, we'll be discussing Messi's bodyguard being banned from being on the sidelines. Carlo Ancelotti maybe back in it for the Brasilia job. Some interesting hype that's getting ready in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and obviously MLS Onside episode 7 recap. Sorry. Recap, which is a really interesting episode. It is more centered towards Atlanta United's final push, where they did end up bringing up the biggest upset in MLS Cup history. But yeah, so obviously Jose Tejas from GolzTV will be on to talk about that, give you guys players of the week, give you guys some games to look forward to this coming weekend, and wrap this show up with a very interesting a soccer news story. Usually the closing segments, we usually try to not feature soccer information, but this story is pretty funny, and I just had to have it mentioned, at least in some sense. I'm not gonna go like deep dive into it, so that's why I'm featuring it at the closing thoughts. Also, I should probably mention this because we haven't been promoting this very well. We do have a merchandise store, Bonfire. The link is in any of our social media and any of our social media accounts. The links there to our merchandise store. So as you can see, if you're watching the video version, obviously I'm wearing my Insert Name FC hoodie, along with this University of Houston Cougars hat because U of H upsetted Duke in one of the greatest comebacks I have ever seen. Duke is eliminated, and U of H is in the national championship game against Florida. Now, it is Sunday where I'm recording this right now, and there is going to be some parts of this episode that will be recorded on Monday, so maybe you'll see the full. Right now, I'm fully optimistic of the UH Cougars, but we'll see what happens on Monday and see how I react in that one.
Whoa. That person has really gotten him or herself into quite a predicament.
But just so there is that as well. Make sure you guys want to get some Insert Name FC merch. Check it out over there. Bonfire. We have I think right now it's just shirts and hoodies, and we did drop the Mauricio Pochettino, maybe the guy shirt if you guys like that one. But yeah, guys, go ahead and check it out. It does help the podcast directly. So if you guys want to, please go ahead and give us some love and support there. But all right. So yeah. So headlines, MLS Onside episode 7, players of the week, games to watch, and a funny news topic involving the game of football. But all right, we'll take a break and then we'll go right into headlines.
Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website.
All right, guys, headlines this week. So, Yassine Chouko. Yassine Chouko. I'm going to just say that. I probably butchered his name right now. If you guys don't know, it is Messi's bodyguard. He is the intimidating bald guy that you see walking from sideline to sideline during the Miami games. He has become quite the staple when it comes to MLS now, being that he came from Europe with Messi and has since then been by Messi's side at all times. But it has been announced that from MLS and Inter Miami, I guess, were like the initiators of as to why this is happening. I have no idea. So probably many of you are wondering, well, why is Messi's bodyguard even on the sideline anyways? Well, obviously we're here in the U.S. There's a lot of people that are excited about Messi mania. So there are a lot of people that do try to, which is a big risk in general, trying to storm the field, goes into the field and tries to hug Messi or tries to get a picture with Messi. Obviously most of it is with good intentions, but in reality, you still never know at the end of the day. And I think, as far as like the concern is, reason why, Yassine was on the sideline was obviously to be on the ready whenever things came down. You saw him tracking that person and either beating him before he got to Messi or some sort of. But most of the time, what happens is like he'll catch the guy, and then Messi will probably end up saying like, "Hey, no, it's okay. Let's take a picture." And they take a picture, and then he takes him out. The thing is with me, for people that like choose to storm the pitch, I get it. It's energetic when you see someone do it. It is interesting, but you guys don't realize the implications that comes with it, right? Like you get banned from the stadium. As far as how they track that, don't ask me. But it is technically against the law to do so. And I mean, yes, I get it. It's cool to get this opportunity to get a picture with Lionel Messi or whoever player you're looking to get a picture with, or have a moment with. It's cool and all that, and I get it. But I get where people are coming from as far as a security standpoint of why Yassin is there, but apparently, I guess many feel that maybe he's just too much of a distraction. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know the reason. I don't know what's the reason behind removing Messi's security guard. Just besides the fact that maybe he's a distraction, maybe he thinks he's see him as a hazard. I don't know. But at the end of the day, Miami decided to do this. It was a Miami decision, though somehow MLS was told that MLS was the one that put the ban in. But I'm guessing through the influence of Inter Miami. Now, he is still acting as Messi's security guard. Like, that's not changing. He is still under Inter Miami's umbrella. He still works for their security team, works with MLS, with their security staff. So he still will travel with Messi. He will still be with Messi at all times, just he can't be on the sideline. So I assume that there's either going to be a private box for him, or he'll probably just be at the tunnel and just be on the ready if anything goes down. But I think it's just but I think obviously Messi made this decision, not the whole banning part, but chose to bring in a security guard for reasons of this matter. And it's not just here in the U.S. Obviously, when we talk about him possibly going to Mexico or South America or anywhere in Latin America, the same thing's going to happen. People are going to storm the field to try to have a moment with Messi. And so that was kind of the reason for Yassin. Yassin is there for that. I think security might be a little bit stricter in Europe and might be a little bit more better in Europe. I'm just saying, yes, we've had more cases, but usually it's been more like mobs storming the field in these matches. And yes, we have the occasional streaker from time to time, but it's very few amount of times that we do have people storming the pitch. Whereas with Inter Miami, it happens a lot more frequently than we expected. So we got a quote from Yassin. I was in Europe for 7 years working for Ligue 1 and the Champions League, and only 6 people invaded the pitch. I love MLS and CONCACAF, but we have to work together. I love helping. I'm not better than anyone, but I have a wealth of experience in Europe. It's fine. I understand the decision, but I think we could do better. So obviously, like I said, it's not as frequent as it happens here, especially right now with Messi mania very much being prevalent here in the U.S. But it just it does need to get better. And it's funny because we're talking about MLS and CONCACAF, maybe not the best places when it comes to upholding standards, but it is something that needs to be discussed. Security needs to be taken a lot more seriously in these matches, especially when you have people storming the field more frequently than you're seeing in Europe. And so I think that needs to be discussed. I think Yassin could be quite an asset, and maybe MLS is talking to him. Maybe they are trying to figure out how to make this a safer situation for not only players but for fans as well. And so we'll see what happens. Messi is just, from what I've read, Messi is definitely not happy with this. I think he likes having Yassin available on the sidelines for him, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be an interesting storyline to follow now that if there's going to be more pitch invaders, if they're not, what's going to happen now that Yassin is not by the sidelines? Like, are people going to be bolder than they were before and try to see if they can get a slight advantage to try to get a better chance at getting a one-on-one with Messi. So we'll see all that, how that all is going to break down. It's just interesting just because, like, I feel like now Messi and Yassin are just go hand in hand and you just expect these two together. He's an interesting guy. I would love to learn more about this guy. I would love to interview this guy because I just think it's interesting, right? Because since Messi has come to Miami, he's just been there. He's been an enigma to me now, where I am very much intrigued on this Yassin guy. So yeah, I think what's his background? Is he ex-military? Things like that. I am very intrigued by this guy, by the way. Maybe it's sus. I don't know, but the guy seems interesting to me. So that's where I'm coming off at. But But yeah, that's the whole Yasin situation. Now, Carlo Ancelotti. So if you guys remember, Brazil sacked their manager, Dorival Jr., after a 4-1 loss to Argentina. One of the most embarrassing performances I've seen from Brazil. Actually, this Brazil in general has been just super overwhelming. They have not been good, and it's crazy because it has so much talent in that roster. You're talking about the names like Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. You're talking about Rafinha. You're talking about Cunha, who's kind of become a rising star right now in the Premier League. Obviously Alisson, probably one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Even like the back line should be one of the best back lines in the world. Mind you, there's injuries, and I get that part. But along with all that, though, it's just like, I just don't know what's going on with Brazil. And it's insane that maybe there's an arrogance there. Maybe it's not the same Brazil that we grew up on, right? The Joga Bonito, the Ronaldinho, the Ronaldo, the Adriano, the Roberto Carlos, the Kaká, like all that stuff. Like maybe we're just past that era now. And this era is just, they just don't have it. Maybe that's what it is. They just can't function as a team. Maybe too many individuals on that team. Maybe that's the root cause of what's going on with Brazil. I don't know. I'm just stating from what I think. And it's kind of funny that Vinicius, I think Vinny and Rodrigo, by the way, which I'm very disappointed in those two, is they're flexing their Champions Leagues, right? Flexing how many Champions Leagues they've won. Where and obviously Argentina has like the ultimate card on you right now. They won the World Cup. They won the World Cup, and they have been dominant in South America and CONMEBOL competitions for a good while now. They won the 2021 Copa America. Or was it 2021? Yeah, 2021 Copa America. Then win the World Cup, and then win the previous Copa America. So it's like, can you really be talking right now? I know you're not talking. Like, I know you're not talking. Like, that's insane to come off as that arrogant, like that. And you're flexing Champions League when these guys literally have won the World Cup. So, that was embarrassing. But I think that sums up Brazil right now. It's just mentally, they're just not where they need to be. This is not I get the frustration from a lot of Brazilian fans, especially people that are from Brazil. Like, I mean, tactical manager has been super critical about this Brazilian team. And once again, most people know my background when it comes to this game. Brazil is a huge influence for why I love this sport, for the way they play. My dad was a huge Brazilian fan because, let's be honest, Salvador and the U.S. they're nowhere near the level of Brazil. Probably not even a centimeter close to, not even a centimeter of what Brazil's talent level is. But they just don't flow. They're not fluid. They're just not that team that we grew up to love, right? This is not the team with Joga Bonito. It's not that. And it sucks. It sucks that we don't have that anymore. But it's just, that's where we are now with the Brazilian team. And Dorival Jr. just couldn't get this group of individuals to work as a unit. And there lies Carlo Ancelotti. And most people are probably like, oh, man, you guys are, maybe we're just overhyping Ancelotti at this point. But the man has been able to do it with names. We're talking about, you can go back at that AC Milan team that he had. You can go back to that Chelsea team that he had. Bayern Munich, when he coached Bayern Munich, he did pretty well with PSG as well. And then now with Real Madrid, with all those names that Real Madrid has, and he has gotten some out of it, right? Maybe this season's a little bit overwhelming for Real Madrid because just, not where you want them to be. They're still winning games. I mean, they're still in contention for the for La Liga, but still trying to figure out the whole Mbappe thing. And I think also the fact that a lot of Brazilian players play for Real Madrid, obviously have a lot of respect to Carlo Ancelotti. In general, I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for Carlo Ancelotti. So I think that would at least help. Maybe there's already like a respect for him where they're going to lock in and listen to whatever Don Carlo Ancelotti is going to tell them to do. That's just the big question is that Is it the coach? Is it the manager that would solve all the problems right now for this Brazilian national team? And I don't know, but it's kind of weird timing, right? Because, like I said, Real Madrid hasn't necessarily been the scary team that everyone's been thinking that's gonna. I mean, literally just lost to Valencia, but they haven't necessarily lived up to the hype of getting Kylian Mbappe. It's been very overwhelming. And I mean, the last time Real Madrid was overwhelming with Carlo Ancelotti, he got fired that year. He won La Decima for Real Madrid, and then the following year didn't necessarily have a great season. He gets sacked, and that's when we get Zinedine Zidane taking over for Real Madrid, and the rest is history. But then obviously he comes back and he builds this team, which there wasn't like any difference from. I mean, aside from maybe Cristiano Ronaldo and the guys that he had for La Decima, but like he still had a very good group of players. But the reason why I'm saying that, like right now, as things are overwhelming, if Real Madrid somehow in this year does not come out with any silver, obviously they're in the Copa del Rey final against Barcelona. They're still in contention for La Liga, and obviously they're still in the race for the Champions League. But let's say they don't win these things, right? I mean, they already got eliminated from the Spanish Super Cup. Frankly, don't care. But if they get eliminated, that they don't win these things, Perez has done it before. I'm just saying, Perez has done it before where he has fired coaches because he felt like they weren't living up to the standard. And I think that that's a good possibility that it could happen again. And then the reason why I say that is because obviously the rumors are always going to be there for Xabi Alonso, right? Xabi Alonso doing all that he's doing right now with Bayer Leverkusen. And could we see, and people keep asking like, hey, are you going to take the Real Madrid job? Are you going to take the Real Madrid job? And he tries to be all cheeky about it. I mean, I think he has one more year left on his contract with Bayer Leverkusen. Not saying that that's important by any means. And then same thing with Ancelotti. I think he has one more year to his contract. So, but with those two things, where Real Madrid's always trying to get the next best thing, right? And Xabi Alonso looks very much like he's going to be the next best thing as a manager. And he does have those ties to Real Madrid, and probably like the best part of it all, he's Spanish, right? He has the Spanish connection, which honestly is something that I feel like hasn't been there in a while for Real Madrid. With those rumors lurking, could Carlo Ancelotti maybe try to get ahead of the game and take the Brazilian job? And obviously, this is depending on how much he wants that Brazilian job. The Brazilian job I think Brazilian job is always going to be a job that everyone would love to have, being able to be the leader for the Brazilian national team and be part of that rich history, being one of the most successful nations in the World Cup and not one of the most successful nation in the World Cup. But it's just that the situation right now is really unique. Maybe Ancelotti could be the guy, but at the same time, I don't know. Because we don't know we don't know what really is the real root of the problem is with Brazil, because the talent is there. Just maybe not the focus is there. So it's an interesting storyline. I kind of want to see what happens. I think Carlo Ancelotti, if he wants to really have a say, which I mean, Perez and him had a talk, and they said that his job is very much safe at Real Madrid, as it should be. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I thought with him winning La Decima, he got enough leeway to where he can afford to have one bad season and still be. And even if he had that one bad year, go into the following year, and I still felt confident with him in Real Madrid. But obviously, after that one bad year, they sacked him. So I'm just saying, I wouldn't trust Real Madrid as much, even if Perez is telling me that don't worry, your job's not in jeopardy or anything like that, because like I said, if Perez has a shot at getting Xabi Alonso, he's going to take it. He is going to take it and not look back. And I wouldn't be against it, and I totally get it as someone that has supported Real Madrid for so many years. I know how cutthroat they are. I mean, look how they treated Iker Casillas when he left. The whole Sergio Ramos thing, I don't think is true. But, they don't necessarily. Raul was done pretty dirty as well, in my opinion. So I would say it's not outside the realm of possibility. It's not. And so, like I said, if Perez has a chance to go get Xabi Alonso, I think he's very much going to take it. So, if you're Carlo Ancelotti, why wouldn't you want to try to flip the script, right? Right. So that's my thought on that one.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, the 2026 FIFA World Cup, we are literally a little bit more than a year away from the biggest event in sports. And I say that not one of the biggest event in sports. Representing your country, but we're also doing it here in the U.S. And I think that that's something that's important to mention because you've heard me, you've heard Jose, you've heard plenty of people talk about it. The U.S. is in fact a football nation, not the traditional football nation, right? But I'm saying that there's a lot of fandom in football. They're just not a soccer. Well, actually, no, correction. I don't think that's what I said. U.S. is a soccer nation. They're not a football nation. They're kind of becoming a football nation because of all the Latin influence, but it's still the U.S. and there's still people here in this country that don't generally think soccer is a legitimate sport for some weird reason. For some weird reason, they can't comprehend why the rest of the world loves this game, yet they feel that they're the ones that can say what is what, what is what, right? Look, I grew up in the United States. I love it. I love the United States. I love being American. I mean, I serve my country. But growing up, someone that does like soccer, someone that does truly love this sport and loves talking about this sport, I get it. I've heard all of it. Like every time when I remember my time in the Marine Corps, everyone was like, "Hey, do you play any sports?" And I was like, "Yeah, I played soccer." Like, "Oh, that's not a sport. Oh, that's not a sport. Oh, no, that's not a real game. It's just guys flopping around." That's like all I heard. The grass fairies, stupid, the flopping. That's the one thing I always hear. And then, and like I said, I grew up in America. I grew up in Texas where American football is king. I'm a big baseball fan, but at the end of the day, soccer, football, that is the sport for me. But there is still a lot of people that just generally don't care for the sport. Now, there are people that care for the sport. They just don't care for the American product. They don't care about MLS. They don't care very much about the U.S. men's national team. They view the U.S. men's national team as an inferior team, which in reality, they are. And we need to stop acting like the U.S. is in the same conversation as France, Brazil, Spain, Germany. We need to stop believing that we're at that level. We're not that level. We're at the level, like, we're not a minnow, but we're in that middle tier, right? Like that middle tier that could be good at times, but maybe they go on a special run, and who knows, but the U.S. is never going to be an odds-on favorite to win the World Cup. I don't expect them to be the odds-on favorite for this World Cup. So, but I think that people need to understand that's where the U.S. is. The U.S. is not going to be a world beater, or at least viewed as a world beater. And I mean, they can't even, right now, I don't even think you can say the U.S. is a dark horse because they can't beat a world beater. At least we've seen Mexico do it. We've never seen the U.S. has had moments in the past, but recently we haven't. We just haven't seen it. The England draw is probably like the highlight, honestly, from the World Cup in Qatar. That was probably the highlight of the U.S., and that is a draw. We didn't beat England. We drew against England. And also, it's an England that a lot of people find to be overwhelming sometimes as well. With that being said, man, this U.S. team is just not that. So when people don't care about the U.S. men's, the reason why many Americans would probably not care for the World Cup is because if the U.S. is in it and they're not good, they want to support a team that's going to win it, and the U.S. is not even remotely close to having a team that can win it. Maybe in a few years, if we're able to do the youth system correctly, if pay to play could somehow be removed at some point, who knows? But right now, it's just we're limited. The U.S. is very limited with what they have. They have the infrastructure, they have all that, but they just have a limited player pool. And the reason why I say that is because you can see what happens when you have an unlimited player pool. You get what the U.S. women's national team is, right? That is a prime example. They don't have a proper youth system, but the soccer for women is very much accessible. There is a women's soccer team in every college almost. So it is more accessible. You have a larger talent pool, so you can pull from better. You can get a better pool of players for your roster. That's why it seems like they just reload every cycle and still become the top contenders that they are in the world for women's soccer. But men's soccer, it doesn't follow the same because one, just using college soccer as a whole, like obviously the youth system it's there. It's just not great, but it's there. The college system, it's fairly limited. Not every college has a men's soccer team. So your talent pool is very limited because of the limited amount of scholarships that they can offer to college soccer players. So, and once again, the fact that there isn't a proper, I don't want to say, I hate using the word proper. The fact that you don't have like a good youth system, that's what hurts the U.S. in this case. And that's why they get with a limited player pool. If you had a much larger player pool, maybe you get more Ricardo Pepis, maybe you get more Diego Lunas, that can show mentality with the same time of talent. And, like a few more will slip through the cracks. And I think that's what's missing for the U.S. right now. Till they were able to get that, they're just not going to get it. Anyways, aside from that, they still need to build hype around it. And you're kind of seeing now, like you're seeing Gianni Infantino interviewing with people. I know he was interviewed during the Super Bowl, and they showed him in the Super Bowl. They showed pictures of Messi at the Super Bowl with some of his teammates from Miami. But yeah, so like I said, we're a year and a few months away from the biggest event in sports. So a lot of hype is starting to grow, right? All the cities are unveiling the custom artwork for their respective sites. Like for instance, Houston, their poster is an astronaut with a cowboy hat throwing up the H. Pretty cool, honestly. And along with posters and artwork and all that, different themes for every city in the World Cup that's hosting a World Cup game, World Cup matches. There's also going to be unique music for that. So Houston has one that has a little chop and screw in it. We're actually one of these days, me, Edward, Kelsey, and I think Spencer, we're going to do a 3-up, 3-down on that because I think it'd be really cool to see like what city is like well liked amongst everybody and who was just straight cheeks. But so you have that hype going. Now you're seeing like some of the crossover collabs with Adidas, right? Because you have Messi and Patrick Mahomes at your disposal. So they had at BMO Stadium in LA, they had a picture with Messi and Patrick Mahomes, right? Messi, the GOAT, right? The GOAT for a lot of people when it comes to soccer. And Patrick Mahomes, the GOAT right now for American football. And obviously they're not going to use Tom Brady because Tom Brady's an Under Armour guy, but Patrick Mahomes is an Adidas athlete. So they have the picture with them with the World Cup trophy getting more attention. A lot of people are like, oh, Messi doesn't need Patrick Mahomes. You're right. But, as far as like people seeing Patrick Mahomes with Messi, they're like, okay, Mahomes likes soccer. Let's, get into soccer. I think that's the kind of like the objective. But and then on top of all that, Gianni Infantino, like I said, has been doing a lot of interviews with when interview with the for Super Bowl, but then he also went on FS1. He did his a little series of interviews as well over there, and he was with Colin Cowherd, and he gave a quote that I think might piss off some people, but in reality, I don't disagree with it. So here's a quote: "The impact will be global. I mean, look at the Super Bowl, which is fantastic. It has what, 120, 130 million viewers, right? The World Cup has 6 billion viewers over a month matches, that just to get that reference. So a World Cup is 104 Super Bowls in a month, which is 3 Super Bowls a day. This can happen every week if you have the best league in the world." Now, some people, once again, like every Super Bowl, you always have the all-time clip of the guy asking, like, what's bigger, winning, what's bigger, the World Cup or the Super Bowl? And everyone's like, you have the Americans saying, oh, the Super Bowl, it's the ultimate gladiator sport and all. Technically, the closest thing to gladiator sport is combat, is the combat sport, like MMA and boxing. Those are the true gladiator sports. I don't know why football is viewed as the true gladiator sport when, yes, it is a contact-based sport. But if you're talking about combat, it's probably UFC and boxing. But anyways, going back to this, I don't think the thing is with me. I think this goes back to just me growing up as an American that loves soccer. The people that just don't get soccer, that don't get why the rest of the world likes this sport, why they don't get it, and it's just you point out, like, people love this sport. Like, the Super Bowl, yes, gets a lot of views, but that's one game out of the year. The World Cup, every single game gets that kind of viewership because you're getting a chance to watch teammates play, teammates from a club play against each other because they're playing for different countries. You have guys that maybe their country has never been up there before. You get these cool stories, right? Like, a few years ago we had Honduras make it to the World Cup. We had 2006 prime example. Ecuador made their first appearance in the World Cup, and you could just see the emotions on these guys representing their country. Like, the storylines in the World Cup is just, there's nothing close to it. And every single game does in fact matter because in those 3 group matches, you have to perform your best to become those top 2 teams that goes on to the knockout round. So it is very imperative. Each match is very crucial. And so, yes, because it is the world sport, yeah, it is massive. You're going to have multiple views for this one game. Yeah, it could be Japan versus New Zealand. There's going to be a lot of views in that match. And so it doesn't matter the countries because each game is significant, especially when we get down to those final days, those final match days of the group stage. And then when it gets to the knockout round, when it's win or go home, it's going to get more and more intense. The viewership's going to be crazy. The World Cup is significantly larger than the Super Bowl. It is just a fact. This is in general a fact. I mean, and I hate using the Super Bowl as a comparison because in reality, it's different, right? Super Bowl is every year. A World Cup is every 4 years. So every 4 years, you build up the hype and excitement. You're hoping that your national team's generation of players, that rotation, that pool of players can do something special and win a World Cup. That's why how like everyone right now in the U.S. finds this World Cup very imperative because this is the first this is a chance to finally start getting Americans into the sport, and get these guys sold on this U.S. team. And we're not talking about winning the World Cup. We're talking about just getting past the group stage, maybe winning a knockout round game. That's what we're hoping for. The hope to get that, just to finally get Americans to be like, you know what? Soccer is great. Let's watch more soccer. Let's be part of this. Let's grow this game. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're actually hoping for. And I think, when we can get people to understand what this sport can do at the highest level, get people to support their local MLS teams, get people to, or USL teams. I don't really care. But for them to understand that this game is so much bigger than they think it is. It is not a minuscule game. It is not a a poor man's game, like whatever they think it is, a communistic ploy, whatever they think this game is, it is far from it. It is a beautiful game. It unites worlds. This a World Cup match. I think it was like there was two countries in war, right? They stopped the war. They did a ceasefire just to watch the World Cup. Like that, if that doesn't tell you anything, I just don't know what else is. Like, I want more Americans to stop putting the blinders in this game. Like, that's really what I want to see. I just want people to stop, disrespecting this game. And I don't, at this point, I have no idea what else to do. So, and I think unfortunately, it's gonna come down to how this U.S. team performs in the World Cup. Because if this team performs in the World Cup, we'll get more eyes. Guaranteed. But all right, we're gonna take a break and go right into MLS Onside with Jose Tejas of GolzTV.
Fight and win!
All right, guys, I'm about to do the hardest thing possible, which is recap episode 7 of MLS Onside, while also trying not to be distracted by the fact that University of Houston is currently playing for a national championship. So, also, for everybody that's probably wondering, I did not go to University of Houston. I actually went to Texas Southern University. That's the historical black college. They were both started the same year. That was the white people college. This was the black people college. So
I was gonna ask you why you had or how you got the hat. I've never seen you wear that hat.
I have a lot of hats, and so when I was getting out of the Marines, when I was looking at like all the colleges that I was thinking of like applying for, I was very dead set that I was going to go to U of H. I was like, oh, it's like the school right there in Houston, so I figured that's what I was going to end up going to. And I did apply for Texas Southern just as like a safety blanket, and I remember that Texas Southern kept me very informed of like the whole process. I got nothing from U of H. I just submitted my application and I heard nothing from them. And so then I called U of H. I was like, hey, I sent you guys my application. I haven't heard back from y'all. Is there anything missing or anything like that? Like, oh yeah, we just need your SAT scores. We didn't get that. I was like, how come you guys haven't reached out to me that you guys needed that? Oh, that's not our job to reach out to you for that. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty important. So you can go ahead and fuck off. I'm going to Texas Southern. So I was in the military, guys. I didn't have a filter yet. So
yeah, that's crazy, bro. I was wondering. I was like, I've never seen you all our time recording together. I've never once seen you wear that hat. But there you go.
Look, I'm gonna be a bandwagon, okay? City of Houston.
Fair weather fan. That's crazy.
I root for U of H from time to time, but obviously Texas Southern, actually, funny enough, is actually a basketball college, but not this year. So
damn,
not this year, not so much this year. But when I was in college, they would always be the 16th seed in this college. If you guys don't know about men's college basketball, they have like March Madness. You have 4 brackets, all up to 16 teams on each side of the bracket. And Texas Southern normally is a 16 seed, so they get stuck with Villanova or North Carolina and get the brakes beat off of them. So that's my reality. But no, U of H is a really cool story though. Like the coach that they brought in, kind of like a whole, just a whole rebuild. Like for people to understand, like U of H isn't supposed to be a school that's where they are right now. This is a pure commuter school. Similar to where my college, Texas Southern, it was a commuter school. It was a college in a big city. So it's not like, okay, maybe University of Texas is not a good example. College Station, Texas A&M, right? It's a small town, but they have this big-ass college in there. Things like that. And so that was like, that's supposed to be huge. Like U of H and Texas Southern weren't supposed to be big universities. They were just supposed to be commuter schools where you get your degree. But I digress. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see them here in the national championship. Hopefully they do win it. They are up right now. So we'll see. We'll see how professional I stay throughout this whole conversation.
Sounds good. Noted.
And it's over! Florida is back on top of the college basketball world!
But episode 7, man, the big decision. This was an interesting episode. I'm glad that this is where we got episode 7 because I am now back in it. So
I was about to
Uh,
say, yeah, same.
I love this storyline. I feel like you couldn't not feature this storyline. And so here's the summary, guys. Atlanta United's long road back to title contention hits a tipping point. A decision day miracle sets up a round one duel against Inter Miami and Messi. I kind of wish it didn't end it with that part, but it's
It's good
true.
marketing right there. That's good marketing. I like
It's
that
true.
copywriting.
It is true. Apple TV, spot on. But yes, it's Atlanta United. This team that I think for a very long time, when you think about Atlanta United, since they came into the MLS, I feel like took the league by storm. They went big. They went and got Tata Martino as their first coach. They went and got Joseph Martinez and got Miguel Almiron to be like their two big signings, if you will. And I mean, a good core of players. Brad Guzan, being your goalkeeper, bringing him back from Europe to be your starting goalkeeper. Even Parker's, a U.S. men's national team vet, bringing him to kind of be that leader for that first era of Atlanta United. And since then, you always felt like Atlanta United was always just going to be that team in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you all the way around. I will say, I will really, really agree with you with your first point, bro. 100%. This episode got me back in. Like, I kind of knew midway through. I'll be honest, I kind of knew midway through, but by the end of it too, bro, I was locked in. Sometimes in these onside episodes, especially in the last couple that we've covered on this show, I don't know about you, bro, but I don't always make it to like where the content kind of fades out into what the preview of the next episode is going to be. I don't always make it that far. With this one, I did, and I'm glad I did, man. It was a good one. It really was a good one. Um, got me fired up again. How many are there? 8 episodes in total?
Yeah, so next episode will be the final episode.
Yeah, got me fired up for whatever that final one to bring in, and we could talk about that one towards the end. But all in all, man, I think it summarized for the most part Atlanta's season fairly well, fairly accurate. They glazed over a couple parts, but I understand why. Like in the broad narrative they were telling, it was a detail. So, but by the end, bro, I mean, like, you said it last year, right? On our show, we talked about. I think it was you who said Hot Atlanta was America's team, right? That was you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah. I
was.
mean,
It was.
bro, it felt that way, didn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think and obviously there was another team that I was like following near that final stretch of games for the MLS season, and that team was Nashville, who I was
Mm.
like they're in a weird position where they could just win a few games, maybe they end up in the playoff because they were pretty close. They didn't
We
make
saw
it obviously,
we
but
saw how that ended.
yeah, but I mean, still, it was a fun ride to be a part of.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this Atlanta United team, I think you know, we got to the point where you and me were trying to make AJ of Atlanta United Fan TV feel somewhat happy. Also, little cameo from AJ as well on this episode as well.
Hmm.
But we try to like he was checked out, and I get it. As speaking as of right now, I'm
Yeah.
not the most all in right now with the Houston Dynamo. But hey, finally got a win, even though LAFC take it for what you want,
I
how
was
they're
about to
playing.
say, bro, it's a good week. I don't know what's
It was
happening.
a Jack McGlynn banger. Answers were answered. A good day, good weekend for Houston fans in general. Dynamo getting the dub against LAFC and U of H upsetting Duke. So
Crazy
and
day for Houston fans.
hopefully ending this with a trophy. But I think at the same time, I kind of get what he was going through, especially how that season was going, the expectations going into that season, right? You're having guys like Giacomakis and Almada as your big DPs, right? Guys that, I mean, we heard Xiao he was prepared to risk it all for Giacomakis. And
Yeah.
I mean Almada, I mean this was, I mean going in, well, I guess not this season, but at this point, this was like MLS's like golden egg at some point because he was like, hey,
Yeah.
look, he won the World Cup. Maybe played maybe 2 minutes, but yeah, he was in the World Cup with Argentina. you know?
Hey, bro, he won that trophy. But yeah, bro, by that point too, he was already kind of the transfer saga. You know how every team or league kind of has one in almost any given season, right? And some last longer than others, aka, Kylian Mbappe, Real Madrid. That was like half a decade, I swear. But this one was one that I think everyone knew was coming. It was just how much money was Atlanta going to get for him. And that's why like that one to me wasn't as big of a blow to Atlanta because they knew it was coming. Like everybody and their mom who followed the league knew it was coming. Giacomakis, that one hurt. Like that one was like it wasn't like a fuck you by Giacomakis. It was just like I mean, some of the words he had when he parted ways with Atlanta and MLS were interesting as he made his way to Cruz Azul, but I think it was more it just felt like a bigger blow. It felt like it almost put the rebuild stamp on Atlanta United. That's it. The season's a rebuild. Chalk it. Don't get excited for anything. They're gonna chalk this season. Hopefully, make a switch from Valentino at the end, bring somebody in, and see what we can do in 2025 if you're an Atlanta United fan. So, yeah, I mean, I felt bad for Pineda a little bit, bro, but I don't know. He also doesn't inspire me. You know what it is? It's the sweaters over the shirt, I think. I think that's what it is.
Just no aura.
Bro, I was watching this episode with my wife, and she was like, "Yeah, this ain't it." Like, as far as like, I don't know, authority figures go, you know.
I will say the temper tantrum was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, bro, I don't know if I'm buying into that.
I wouldn't be able to take him seriously when he kicked that suitcase either. So if I was in the locker room and just hearing him, and it wasn't like look, you know when you're getting your ass chewed by a coach.
Yes.
Like it's one of those where you shut up and listen and you take it to heart. This was not your typical ass chewing from a coach. It just came off as whiny. This guy's literally like, and I mean, I'm sure everybody felt it that this guy's literally on his last legs. Like he has nothing left that's going to keep him from staying employed by Atlanta United. And I feel like you sense that from that moment in that locker room. And then even the way he talked in the press conference, how he was just like, yeah, I mean, at this point, we just got to try to win it on the road. And that doesn't seem great. Like, I mean, I think I'm paraphrasing, but somewhere along, I feel like it went along those lines as well. So, like, if you're, especially like the, Atlanta United, they went all out and got the sporting director from Seattle. And, obviously he did fairly well with that Seattle team, was under the team when they had the CONCACAF Champions Cup title.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I'm sure Xiaoyan would love to have that guy back instead of Weibel. Still don't get how he became a GM. Used to play for the Dynamo. I remember that. But yeah, no, it's interesting. I think at that point, and even the interview with Almada, like trying to say like how he believes in Pineda, I was like, well, yeah, send him out. He's saying that because he ain't gonna be here for long.
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't matter what he says, to be honest, bro.
So and I think what I liked was the interviews with the sporting director and even some people from the front office of Atlanta and how they were kind of like, if there's a time to, tear some things apart from this team, maybe this is the time. And who would have thought that you get rid of at the end of it, I get it that Almada was always in the conversation of leaving, and Giacomakis, I mean, that's a big goal contributor. But to lose two guys, still two impactful players in some aspect, and then firing the coach, I think that there was it spoke volumes on how the team responded, and it came down to your MLS vets. I mean, once again, Brad Guzan, Dax McCarthy, it came down to those two guys, keeping the guys rallied and believing in Rob Valentino, which. Me and Musa said it when we were covering the MLS playoffs on this podcast that man deserves a job somewhere. If it wasn't with Atlanta United, the man deserves a job, which is crazy because he's currently unemployed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, I loved everything that he spoke. He spoke more about mentality, which. Let's be honest, we haven't heard many coaches talk about that in a long time. Usually it's possession. This guy said, fuck you, let's just punch these guys in the throat. And I was like, I'm ready to run through a brick wall for this guy. So
Yeah, I can feel that. I can feel that 100%. To me, I actually like Valentino a lot. I thought it was a shame it didn't even seem like Atlanta really considered him all that much at the end of the season when it came time to choosing a long-term coaching candidate. And I can see why, right? I think on the resume, maybe there's just some gaps in comparison to others. But putting that aside, Yeah, I liked his approach to a team that basically feels like it has nothing left to play for. Uh, I think and loses. I mean, I say nothing left to play for, bro. Not in a playoff position, not even that close when the run had to start. Losing your best talent, losing your manager in a year where you were supposed to be pretty damn good in the Eastern Conference. I think the only way to approach that is to do a strong, like, factory reset mentally and don't even worry about how they choose to play. Just get them to believe, and that's really it. Um, I think he did a really, really good job at that. I don't know if we saw enough of Valentino's like tactics on the field per se. That you can point to and be like, yeah, that's how they set up and that's why that team won. Like, I don't think there's any sort of like Valentino masterclass from that perspective, but I do think that he did a great job with the Atlanta team and the pieces he was left with. And bro, I don't know if we can consider it this. I think it is one of the biggest upsets in sports history. You could probably say that. If not that, then definitely one of the biggest upsets in like Atlanta's professional sports history, knocking off Messi in the year that he was supposed to win everything. So, yeah, man, he did a great job. I thought they did a good job of just like allowing us as the audience to buy into Valentino, getting to see his family, getting to hear from his wife, like what he was like, get to see, see his kids and whatnot. They're playing FIFA on the big screen. Love that. But yeah, bro, I mean, I thought it was pretty cool, just the character they made, not made him out to be, but let us see behind the scenes. And it made you feel way more for Valentino by the time it got to the very end.
Yeah, I think what I got from Rob Valentino, at least from this episode, was that he's a guy. And I think that that's probably the right call for, be honest, by Atlanta United's front office to bring him in as the interim. Obviously, he's the assistant to Pineda, which, by the way, they're currently 14th place in Liga MX with 3 wins. His new team and Atlas. So take that.
I wonder if I mean, I think part of the reason they took a little while to actually like announce Valentino as the interim manager moving forward was, don't you think at some level a manager's coaching staff is kind of, I don't know, it presents a conflict of interest. Like they work under Pineda. I don't know. I don't think in this scenario they were brought in all as one group together under Pineda as part of like the coaching staff for Atlanta United. But I do know that happens quite a bit, all over the world, frankly.
Weirdly enough, in this game, I've noticed that the manager does change, but the staff stays fairly the same. I mean, using the Dynamo for example, because obviously I was once part of that staff.
Yeah.
The strength and conditioning coach, that guy's been there for years.
It's probably an MLS thing, to be honest, bro.
Mr. Paul Caff, shout out to him, cancer beater. I mean, their goalkeeper coach, he used to be a goalkeeper coach for the Dynamo. He, went off and did some amazing guy, by the way, great guy to talk to. The dude is just stories on stories, and the guy knows all the older people mingle spots here in Houston. He told me if I wanted to go, I was like, I'm good. But great guy.
Awesome invite. Yeah.
Great offer. I mean, obviously the things that made, Kenny Bundy. I mean, the guy literally has been part of the youth system with the Dynamo, and then obviously last year was with D2. Now he's with the first team staff. But that's kind of, I think most MLS teams, I think it's fairly similar to that, where the staff stays a little bit the same. They'll change a few pieces here and there. I mean, when I came in, they brought in a new video analyst. I know they actually promoted a dean from the U17 team to become like another analyst type coach for the first team, which now shout out to him because he went from now he's at Plymouth Argyle.
So okay.
Shout out to
third division? Guy. Third division?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Rooney fucked that up. But yeah, now he's with Plymouth Argyle, which I think is really cool. He really, I think is a great guy in general. But yeah, anyways, the whole point of that, the staff doesn't changed too much. Maybe a coach here and there. Obviously, the assistant coach that the Dynamo currently have, he was hired last year. He was obviously the coach for Phoenix Rising, the won the USL that year before. But yeah, now he's with the Dynamo as an assistant coach. But yeah, no, it's but more than likely, it usually has like maybe one or two new faces, but it stays fairly the same.
Gotcha.
That makes me feel like an expert sometimes. But yeah, no, I think it was the right move for Rob Valentino to be the guy. I think obviously the players are familiar with him. I think that's always the thing when you do an interim coach. That's the, I guess maybe the good thing, depending on how you view it, right? Because everyone's different when it comes to interim coaches. Because chances are you're not going to be there forever. You're just there. You're just there temporarily. Have we seen interim coaches become the head coach? Yes, but it's pretty rare. It's a pretty rare sight.
Yeah, I agree. Either way, I for Atlanta United, it makes sense. I'm glad they did it that way. I think Valentino getting a chance to show off what he can do when given the opportunity is going to stick pretty evidently on his stick out on his resume pretty evidently moving forward. It's a good thing for him. So yeah, I think it worked out for everybody, bro. And all honesty, what I was thinking when I'm watching them kind of complete the season and get to the point that we know they got to in the playoffs under Valentino, I think if you had asked any Atlanta United fan, of course hindsight's 2020, but if you asked them, hey, if this is the spot you guys exited as far as the season goes in the postseason with the full team, pretend Pineda never got fired, pretend they didn't sell Giacomakis and Wiley and Almada, and you had your full roster, the one that you were supposed to be really good with, if this had been the exit, would it still have been a pretty successful season? I think most fans would say, yeah. You didn't win MLS Cup, but I don't think you were ever really expected to. And you knocked out Messi and the Barca boys when they had home field advantage in the opening round, and you lost to someone who arguably could have been in MLS Cup final, So, I mean, I don't think it's that bad of a year. So by that standard, man, job well done by Valentino.
No, yeah, no, I think for sure, and when you talk about that run, I mean, I think Dax McCarthy kind of explains it the best, by the way, because he having to. I don't know if that was like planned or anything like that, but it was interesting to have that kind of conversation. But they did have it, I guess, which was him explaining like in MLS, because obviously, once again, MLS is different from Europe, right? And Europe, it's whoever finishes on top of the table, that's the champion. That's not like that in the MLS. You could literally be the team that just barely qualified and make a run. Does that happen in MLS? Not very often. It's usually one of the teams that you're more unlikely to expect. Maybe like a fourth or higher seed usually ends up winning it.
Yeah, but it's happened a few times, and like I will say, last year it was kind of the same on both sides. I mean, obviously Atlanta gets highlighted, but I think the Red Bulls were like seventh.
Yeah,
going
they were
into
the lowest. I think of all time was the lowest seats ever going to the MLS Cup. So you're absolutely right. But yeah, so I mean, I love how Dax is like, you can literally be terrible and still make it to the playoffs, and that was kind of his
hashtag Sporting Kansas City, bro.
Yeah,
hashtag Sporting KC.
And but he's right though. Sometimes it's not about being the best team; it's the team coming in the right form, and I think that becomes that kind of, I guess, what's that word? A foreshadowing of going into this matchup. Which I love how they just skip over the wild card round, but I don't blame them, because
it was a good game. It was a good game.
Was it? It went to pens, right?
Yeah, it went to pens. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a pretty good game. I'll be honest. I was enjoying watching Joseph Martinez in that game. It felt like it was his last game. Like, kind of.
Oh, that's right. It was the Joseph Martinez maybe revenge game. Yep.
Yeah. It kind of felt like it was the game you wanted it to be from like that storyline's perspective. But I understand what they glossed. Like I said, I said it before. They kind of glossed over just moments that were still pretty damn big. But I understand why they did it, because there was just so much to tell from Atlanta's full season perspective, especially the end. Bro, I can't think of anybody in recent memory who's had a roller coaster of a season like that from the time the regular season started to where they finished in the postseason. I really can't think of one that went through the ups and downs fully and still somehow came out in a good spot.
I think I can think of one, but obviously it's not going to be MLS. It's going to be American sports, but not but MLS, which is it is the Nationals that won the 2019 World Series.
Yeah.
That team started their season atrociously. As a matter of fact, everyone was kind of counting them out, and even had rumors that these guys were about to trade off all their players. Yeah, because in baseball they do that, but especially when you're not good. But somehow they go into this run of form. They clinch a wild card spot. They embarrass the Dodgers in LA. They sweep, I think, the Cardinals, who they swept in the NLCS, and then make it to the World Series and literally beat my Houston Astros, unfortunately. Uh, and in one of the weirdest World Series where not a single home team could win a home game, and so happens that the Astros have 4 home games, so it was just one of those like bizarre things. But that team came in the best of form, just was like red hot going into the postseason, where it just seemed like that was team of destiny, kind of vibes. Obviously different from this Atlanta United team, which you say, well, what is it? You're playing with house money at this point, right? Like.
Yep.
And I mean the ultimate house money of it all. You beat Inter Miami. You beat the team that probably gets the most favorable calls. If it's if you want to put those tinfoil hats on, the team that somehow can get at X amount of players. Somehow Kevin De Bruyne might be going to Inter Miami.
Oh, God, don't get me started, bro. Anyway.
But yeah, it's the they're the evil empire now, even though they haven't won anything. But that's what Inter Miami is now. They are the evil. It's funny how Messi has now the quote of all time from the Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live yourself. Live to see yourself become the villain. And I mean, I don't think anybody sees Messi as a villain unless you just despise Messi.
I think a lot of people see Messi as a villain.
Now, maybe more.
Yeah, I would say now, and it's not even his fault. That's the crazy part, is it's not even his fault. It's legitimately the league only using Messi to market the league. Essentially, they don't use anything else. It's over reliance on
Cena.
Messi. Yeah, bro, it's an over reliance on Messi, and then when Messi fanboys all over, right? The ones who scream against the Ronaldo fans over who's the GOAT. Those fanboys pick up that messaging and say, look, a league's using Messi as their entire marketing scheme to reinforce everything. And bro, it just creates this vibe that like anybody who appreciates MLS, you now have to be against Messi, bro. You have to be against Messi for the integrity of the league. That's how I feel legitimately as a Messi fanboy myself. But I can't just like, I don't know, hop on that bandwagon, bro. It feels so wrong. Like I feel like as I'm cozying up next to Don Garber or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, bro. I mean, Atlanta legit became America's team, and that's why that upset was so epic, bro. So epic. Like, and speaking of like the favorable calls that you just mentioned, bro, watching it back, watching Campana push down Guzan in the net, and just like the ref telling him, "Yeah, I'm not gonna call that. I'm not gonna call that." He's like, "You didn't call it? Nope, not gonna do it." Like, bro, it's just like it's insane to me.
And it's funny how that immediately became a meme for like all the Miami fans. Like, oh, look how much of a bitch Brad Guzan is. And if you really think about it, the biggest bitch in the whole thing was Capana. Like that was it was a sucker move.
Yeah, bro, literally back turned, fucking just what's your defense? Oh, he was gonna turn around and hit Messi or something. Something along those lines came out. I was like, what, bro? His back is turned and Messi already has the ball and he's taking off. I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. And then
Suarez was funny. That whole Suarez altercation.
It's just it's wild.
People don't know this, but they used to play against each other back in the Prem.
Yep. And the crazy part too, on top of all of that, is like afterward to hear like Jordi Alba blaming the MLS playoff format and like the structure and how it works, and it just felt like excuses FC by the team, by its fan base, and it's just created this vibe of, in a bad way from our perspective, it's Messi versus everybody. It's Miami versus everybody. And I mean, like I'm on the side of everybody, bro, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I think a lot of fans feel that way. And so I think, like, bro, I guarantee you, people watching Onside and watching this episode were like, that's the bad guy. the fucking music changed when Messi came up when Herc Gomez was explaining, hey, and their reward for beating Montreal is they get, and then they just stopped talking. It was just like that sudden thud of the piano.
And then you just see two guys drinking mate.
Yeah. It's like they're about to destroy you, bro. You don't understand. And they really would have if it had not been for Brad Guzan. We saw some of those insane saves towards the end.
A lot of his work, because that could have easily been a blowout.
I don't know what was better, like that performance or Tim Howard's against Belgium in the World Cup. I mean, the occasion is definitely bigger for the World Cup, but remove that context and just focus on the performance. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. Like it's a very tough comparison.
I mean, he literally just must have had watched that World Cup game to get himself prepared for this game. I honestly do feel like it, because to me, I'm like, this is the Brad Guzan we were supposed to see. Because, when you think of Brad Guzan, he probably had the worst job ever, which was having to follow up Tim Howard.
Yes.
Like he was set to be the next number one, right? And then, there you have the pressure of a young Zach Steffen. Matt Turner wasn't even in this conversation, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. Well, of course he shouldn't be anyway, but that's a conversation for another day.
But who was the other name? Well, now he's an afterthought, but which is funny because he did help us win the Nations League the first year. Anyways, not that important.
Yeah, it's fine.
But anyways, Brad Guzan was supposed to be the heir apparent to the number one, which, it's a long line of bald goalkeepers, if you really think about it. When you think of Guzan, then you got Tim Howard, Casey Keller, Brad Friedel. We have a thing for, that's what we're missing. We're missing a bald goalkeeper.
I never thought about that, but that's actually 100% true.
We're missing a bald goalkeeper. Someone needs to shave their head. I don't know who. I'm just saying.
Bro, for the shits and giggles, I would love to see Matt Turner bald with a beard. That would be fucking hilarious.
He probably has a lumpy head. I'm just gonna call it right now. He looks like a guy that shouldn't be bald.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe Zach Steffen. But
I feel like he could pull it off.
He probably.
I don't know why. He probably could pull it off.
Because he looks like Kane Brown. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, bro, I never thought about that. He does look like fucking Kane Brown. But anyway, I've
never seen them in the same room.
Or just like a weird doppelganger. That's kind of crazy, though. I never really thought about that. It was like a glass-shattering moment.
Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip, using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports.
But anyway, I mean, just, yeah, the facial here, I'm sure he could pull it off. But I don't know. Keeper position, since that incredible class of bald keepers has just been pretty damn bad, I'll be honest. And nothing really to write home about. But I think Guzan, bro, I don't know how much longer he has in him. I wonder what that is, because I do remember watching him back in the Villa days. And, bro, I'll be honest, man, you could argue he might have had his best years with Atlanta.
Like, I definitely think that it was definitely his time at Atlanta. I think, I mean, he got a lot of great experience from the time in the Prem. I'm not obviously not going to take that away from him, but I think where he finally got to at least be like the guy for Atlanta United, like he came in being the U.S. men's national team vet, and obviously he's with Parkhurst also along that early Atlanta United team. But I think this was for Atlanta United. This was his team. Like, Aston Villa wasn't his team. Even though he was the starting keeper. But I mean, like, I feel like Atlanta United was very much his team. And you can see him kind of taking that pressure on. Not only is he now having to be the captain of the team, but you see him and Dax wanting to make this team, work. You had the weird hot tub scene, which I was like, this is how we prepare our bodies while the young kids are kicking the ball around. That was I was like, okay.
Isn't it crazy though how those two players probably had the biggest impact?
Hmm.
Like if you go back, anybody goes back to watch the game, Guzan, we just literally glazed the last 2-3 minutes, but McCarty, bro, also had like a hell of a game in the six, a hell of a series in the six, actually. Like I thought he held down the midfield very, very well. You can argue that the two old heads were their two best players the whole
Yeah,
series.
I guess they had a point with the hot tub. So
I guess it worked, bro. I guess it worked.
also, Brad Guzan, good job, buddy. Like, because Dax McCarty looks straight up like a dad. Like, friggin', you got,
He does. He looks older. He looks older. He talks a little bit older too.
Yeah.
Guzan, you would like you told me, hey, how old is he? Is he 41? Some shit like that? 40?
40 at least up there, I think.
Yeah. If you told me like he's in his 40s, I probably wouldn't believe you. Probably wouldn't believe you.
Yeah, Mrs. Guzan's a lucky lady. But but yeah, no, because Dax McCarty looks like a straight dad. Like, I mean, maybe you see him at like the water park, probably has a shirt off with his kids, and no one would think that guy's a professional soccer player.
I mean, that's fair. He's also like pacey dude with freckles, and I mean, not like a crazy amount of muscle tone. Like he's in good shape, but he's like an in shape suburban dad. I mean, that's what you think. He talks like one too, bro. He just talks like your friend's dad next door or down the street or something. So, yeah.
He'll probably tell you don't get the insurance when you rent a car. Like all those things.
Yeah, the life hacks. But
that's who you looked on. That's who you looked upon to be the guys to like lead this core of players along with Valentino. I think if you don't have Guzan and McCarthy in your roster, like I don't know if the guys buy in as much as they would with Valentino.
Or if you still have some of the guys who maybe commanded more of the attention, like Giacomakis and Almada, maybe not quite as many players are buying into what the old heads are saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just with the distractions in the locker room and whatnot. So, I again, it felt like the perfect storm, bro. Like on so many levels. Departures, the change in coach, the mentality shift. Like it all feels like everything just came together at the right time in the best way possible for Rob Valentino and Atlanta United. And I thought overall, the folks at Apple TV and Onside definitely pretty damn good job capturing all the emotion. I mean, anybody who was tuned into last season knows how crazy that whole upset was. And I feel like when I was going into this episode, I was like, it needs to bring back up some of those emotions that we had last year. And it did. So all in all, the episode was good.
Yeah, I think you got that, and I think you got the pressure from the front office to make the big decisions, right? Like you don't make those decisions and expect a run, But clearly, trimming the fat, I guess you can say, ended up working out in the best way possible because you got, the 2 goals that were scored in that Miami game, right?
Yeah.
And I thought one of them was a replay. When I was watching it, I was like, wait, I thought they were replaying that first goal from John, I think his name was. I believe he's French.
I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah,
but I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, bro. I mean, like I said, it was all in all, man. Like you mentioned, the critique of the team, the pressure Pineda felt. Honestly, bro, how cool would it have been to see the man get fired? That would have been crazy. Fly on the wall when they had the phone call or like did whatever.
Oh,
I've always wanted to at least try like experience that in some form or fashion as a fan. Just to see.
Experience getting fired by a professional MLS team?
No, not you. I'm saying like get to see, bro, what I would have given to see Nico Estevez fired at FC Dallas, bro.
Oh, okay. I mean, because I can tell you how it feels like to get fired by an MLS team.
Don't get me wrong, bro. I don't wish anybody getting terminated from their job. That's not what I'm saying. Is that I think at some point you have to hold, in a result-oriented business, you have to hold those who are at the wheel accountable. And I feel like sometimes franchises, pro teams in general, make excuses for lack of moves, lack of ambition, for not moving a manager on when it's clearly time. And I don't know, bro, with how much passion we saw from the GM in this episode, just would have been dope, man, to see
dude was in tears. Doors. Dude was in cusp of tears. But no, and you're right. I think the thing is, people need to understand that this business is very much cutthroat. It has to be cutthroat. You can't, like, you're gonna have to make decisions, and you're gonna have to let go of people. You're gonna have to let go of people that you didn't even think was even necessary to fire, but you're gonna do it anyways.
Yep.
Because because especially when you're talking about a culture change, and I mean, and in some aspect, this is what Atlanta did. It was a culture change. You're trimming the fat. You're getting rid of the people that have whatever they felt was, I don't want to use cancerous, but cancerous in some sense, to get the positive, positive mentality to get a team to work unified. You have to make those big decisions. Going back to the Dynamo, I mean, they fired a lot of people that were still stuck in the old regime's ways. They're like, "Oh, this is how we always done it." And it's funny because I actually had a conversation when I was still with the Dynamo, where they're like, "Oh yeah, we usually do it like this." I was like, "Yeah, well, the usual way you did this caused us to suck, so I kind of want to do things my own way. If my shit doesn't work, then we'll go back to the old way. But
Fair.
as of right now, whatever
Fair.
y'all did sucked." So
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, I mean that's how you have to treat it though, right? Like I'm actually prepared to say, like, in some ways you can argue that it felt like open heart surgery, not just trimming the fat. It's a major, major shift they were going through. So, and yeah, I don't know if it makes sense to get rid of the old and in with the new for everything. But I think in more cases than not, it's definitely required just to get a fresh start, hit that mental reset. So again, I think they did a good job of just explaining how some of that worked and the expectations and how they dealt with all of it. But just some extra scenes. I know they probably can't show that to us, but damn, bro, that's the behind the scenes or the sneak peek that I'm looking for from some documentary series out there on the sports front. So
I mean, I think that, what was it, Hard Knocks, that show when the player wasn't able to
that,
have key card access to like the training
bro,
facility.
when they get cut, I don't know. It's like, to me, I just want to hear how the leaders on the team, the coaches, right, approach that situation. Like, what do you say? How do you put it together? How do you help that person understand? Um, Getting cut from tryouts or like from training camp is different. But that GM had so much passion, bro. I just want to see what his rationale was to
Hmm.
Gonzalo. Like how do you, like, I don't know, man. How do you go about that whole process? What do you say? It would have been super interesting.
No, yeah, I agree with that one. But I think this episode was very much a great palate cleanser for these last two episodes. Um,
Yeah.
it gets me sold back in. And I mean, and also, like, once again, AJ, AJ, our very own from our Goals TV family, is in this episode. I mean, maybe he's not talking as much as more so his co-host, but still, really cool to see that. You know, Clearly Apple TV likes some of the content, at least from content creators. And I know Atlanta United has more of a connection with the city of Atlanta, which also, by the way, I love the shots that they had of the Atlanta fans, even the pregame hype and all the. I think Atlanta is uh one of the most enjoyable fan bases when it comes to MLS. I think obviously definitely know how to pack a stadium when there's a reason to pack the stadium. Um, but still, just the culture of Atlanta United. Atlanta is just a culture that it's hard to explain unless you're there. And I think it's also the fact that, like, you have so many Atlanta rappers that are super supportive for Atlanta United. You got Waka Flocka going to these games.
Yeah.
So uh,
I think they do a good job. Atlanta United's, bro, I have nothing but respect for Atlanta United. Yeah, man, I think it's just the culture's so ingrained into the city, into the town that I know for a fact, and some of this is hearing it from AJ himself, but I know for a fact that, like, not only the Atlanta market, but like MLS as a whole really noticed that Atlanta as a fan base is pretty vocal. And I mean, bro, with AJ, make no mistake, man, he's one of the OGs of like the MLS content creator space and, giving fans a voice and obviously communicating his own opinions on his show and his channel. He's doing it for like what, 6, 7 years now, 8 years now. So he's been doing it for a long time, and bro, it's awesome to see that he got into this series. I actually heard his voice
yeah, I
a
heard.
couple amount of times. Yeah, it was a fair amount. But yeah, bro, I mean, obviously, there's no, in my opinion, no better source for Atlanta United coverage out there than AJ and Atlanta United Fan TV. But yeah, bro, it's crazy. I was literally just with them in person at All Star last summer. And now this fucking dude's on onside. I mean, we'll see what's next.
And that just tells me that I gotta say dumber shit on GolzTV. So I get a feature.
It's crazy, bro. Crazy. I love that though. I love that.
But yeah, man. Aside from that, man, I think this was a great episode. I do love, I do love just going back to this Miami just implosion, if you will, because of just everything that went by. You said it, excuses FC, but also all the people that were like fans of just Messi, so confused, calling it a third leg when it was very much not a third leg. Look, I'm not a fan of this playoff format, but when it came down to pissing off all these plastic Inter Miami fans, I was like, you know what? This is the best playoff format in the world. No changes to this format, but please do change it.
The crazy part is though, bro, is that like, okay, even if it was a two-leg format, the only way they go through is on away goals or penalties, right? So like, it's still not clear cut, even if they go back to what they're used to for Miami to go through in this one. I truly think Messi fanboys are so locked in for 2025. And if you didn't know why, it's because of what you saw in this episode of 2024. It's just now, bro, it's like super personal. And we know this on the GolzTV YouTube channel in the comment section that I feel like we're fighting in every single week. So, they're just on another level. Like, bro, we basically can't even say anything negative about Miami without it looking like we're just straight up haters. So,
which is crazy because this team has yet to prove that they are, an MLS Cup contender. They're doing really well in the season, but I mean,
bro,
like,
it's crazy. I've not just had football intelligence questioned. I've had my actual overall intelligence questioned for simply just not picking Miami to win every game they play. Like, bro, like I don't understand. Like, I don't care what sport we're talking about, what league we're talking about. The most dominant team out there loses matches. They do. Like it's true of anybody. There's not a single team in the world in any professional football league that is winning every game of every season. Like I don't care if it's MLS or not, bro.
I mean,
So
just look at Real Madrid this past weekend. So.
it happens. It happens to everybody. But again, like being so like you could tell who hasn't watched MLS. If anything, bro, MLS is harder to predict, in my opinion, than other leagues out there. It's like anybody can be anybody. It's more true here than I think in most leagues. So I don't know, man. I get it from the lens of Messi fanboys, but I'm gonna take every chance I possibly can to just hate watch that team. Hope they don't make it far. And if they do, I mean, whatever, bro. It was supposed to happen anyway. So
no, yeah, for sure. But this episode was great. I can't wait for next episode because next episode is the finale, and it's also it's the MLS Cup. That's literally what this episode's gonna be about. I can't wait for it. I will hope to see some interviews talking about how they're playing for Ricky Puig, and I'm sure Red Bull New York is gonna say something about how they could come in and maybe beat a Puig-less LA Galaxy team. And then it's funny because speaking of people that said some things before this game. Look, I have no beef with Bob. Bob is a great guy. Bob is definitely knows how to talk. But it makes me laugh that he's gotten so many times where he says something and it does bite him back.
Yeah, but it's his team. It's the final.
I get it. I get it.
You know what I mean? We're
but
all
he literally going into
team.
that final saying Jovic isn't gonna do anything, and the guy literally scores the winner.
He's trying to manifest that shit. You know what I mean? Like he's putting the vibes out there, and I think too. I understand a little bit. For anybody who's watched Bob from Designated Pundits, he's very big on his team's back line, and I will say, like, bro, last year in playoffs, they were them. Like that back line was legit, and it felt like they were very difficult to beat. And so I don't know if I would have gone as far as saying Jovic's not gonna do anything, but I'm like, hey, I definitely would have said, and I probably would have backfired on me. I probably would have said we're not getting dunked on by this highest scoring LA Galaxy team. I'll tell you that right now. We might lose, but we're not getting dunked on. And it happened, like it is what it is, but I still would have been maybe that layer of confident or delusional going in because You have to be, bro. It's like the last game of the season. It's the cup final. It's your team. You've never won it, bro. I would have been talking all kinds of shit, to be honest.
Fair enough. Fair enough for sure. But obviously, that's episode 7. I think generally overall was a great episode. And obviously it's great to have you to discuss every single one of these episodes. Hopefully next year's episodes are going to be even more intriguing as they improve on what MLS Onside will be all about. But
Yeah, facts.
Jose, this is your time. Tell us what's going on there with GolzTV.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. No, man. I mean, kind of, same old going into April and May. Obviously, guys, I think the Club World Cup's kicking off here in a couple months. So I know at GolzTV, we want to try and make it a little bit of a higher priority, talk about it a little bit more on the platform, on the YouTube channel. And of course, Eric Winalda's series, Unleashed, seems to be taking off. If you haven't checked it out yet, go do us a favor. Check that out on the GolzTV YouTube channel, as well as our website, golz.tv. Let us know what you think, man. He literally reads comments and engages with users directly on the show. He wants you guys to be involved. So if you appreciate talk about MLS, USL, the men's national team, the women's national team, anything American soccer in between, check it out. Let us know what you think. Other than that, keep enjoying Intern FC.
Also, great box-to-box episode that just got dropped on GolzTV as well.
Thanks, bro.
But yeah, make sure you guys check that out. And we'll segue right into Players of the Week.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
All right, guys, I want to thank Jose for coming on to talk MLS Onside episode 7. Really cool episode. Really did get me back into this docuseries, because I'm not gonna lie, the last 2 weren't all great. But anyways, update on the U of H Florida game. U of H is up. There's like 5 minutes left in the second half. It's 58-55. So a lot of drama. So we'll see how all that transpires. Obviously, by the time this episode drops, you guys will already know what happened. But
It's a great day to be a Gator.
anyways, Players of the Week is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site that has all things live events here for you. Edward and I use SeatGeek plenty of times to go to our live events, whether it's a concert, theater show, comedy shows, and of course, sporting events. So what we like about it is a very easy system. It grades it from using numbers and colors. If it's really red and really low, that means those prices for those seats are not worth it. Keep scrolling. You're going to find better seats. Now, if the score is high and is really green, that means you're getting a great deal for these seats. Go ahead and enjoy your event. We love the simplicity of SeatGeek, and we want you to guys be more excited about it. So for first-time users, if you guys use the code BellyUpSports at checkout, you'll save $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. SeatGeek.com. Use that code BellyUpSports and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event. We got the tickets. All right, my player of the week is Ermedian Dimitrovic, who scores a hat-trick in VfB Stuttgart's 4-0 victory against Bochum. And Edwards' player of the week is Maximilian Bien, who scored 2 assists, provided 2 assists in Borussia Dortmund's 4-1 win against SC Freiburg. So those are our players of the week. So congratulations to Dimitrovic and Beer for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, go to SeatGeek.com, use that code BellyUpSports, and you'll save $20 off your first purchase. And we'll go ahead and segue into games to look forward to this coming weekend.
I'm a pupusa man myself. Better than tacos to me. I gotta go with them.
All right, guys, games to watch. We have in Mexico, we got Necaxa versus Pachuca, Tigres versus Monterrey, juicy matchup there. And then America versus Cruz Azul, both of them from the city of DF, so that'll be a very interesting rivalry there. In Liga, we got AS Monaco versus Marseille, and AJ Auxerre taking on Lyon. In the Bundesliga, we got VfL Wolfsburg taking on RB Leipzig. And their classer, Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund. So a big rivalry matchup going on there in the Bundesliga. In the Serie A, we got Atalanta taking on Bologna and Lazio versus Roma. Obviously this could dictate some changes in the standings in the league tables for Serie A. In La Liga, we got Real Betis versus Villarreal and Athletic Club Bilbao versus Rayo Vallecano. In the Premier League, we got Manchester City taking on Crystal Palace and Arsenal versus Brentford. So obviously not all the matches that are happening this weekend, but if you need a good beginner's guide, well, there you go. So we're going to take a break and then go right into wrapping the show up.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. First, I want to thank Jose for coming on to cover episode 7 of MLS Onside. I don't know why I forgot about what I was going to say. But yeah, thanks for coming on. But let me talk about this story, man, because this story is crazy. So the U.S. Open Cup, it's one of the oldest tournament. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is probably like the most traditional football thing that the U.S. has, because it is very much an open tournament. Anybody can enter. Anybody can qualify for it. I think there's certain things that you have to have before you can sign up for it, but it's very much open. This is where you can see teams from lower level leagues go up to the first division, which is MLS and I guess now USL, compete, for a chance to have a shot at the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It's similar to the FA Cup in England, and I think it's really cool because you get these unique teams, especially this unique team. So there is a team called El Farolita. And the thing that's so unique about this team is because it is a Mexican restaurant. They are known as Burrito FC or the Burrito Boys. This is a Mexican restaurant playing in the U.S. Open Cup. And they just defeated Monterey Bay FC 2-1. April 16th, they do have a game against Sacramento Republic. But I just love this story. And the reason why I love this story a little bit more is because when I was living in North Carolina, I was looking for a soccer team to play for, trying to do some Sunday league. Just give me something to get out of my barracks room. And I ended up becoming friends with some guys at this First of all, I'm gonna be honest with you, it wasn't a Mexican restaurant. The food was terrible. The food wasn't terrible, but the food wasn't Mexican. The funny thing is the more north you get away from Mexico, the more I feel like the food is not as authentic, not as good. Whereas Texas or California, Arizona, like the Mexican food is probably gonna be pretty damn near close to what it's like over in Mexico. But the further up you go, it ain't it. And anyway, but a lot of guys in my unit, we go to this restaurant called El Ceros, and mainly because they pour a little hard on the margaritas, but aside from that too, the food was decent, and so and obviously endless chips. So we would go there a lot, and so so I had a friend from my unit that me and him would go play soccer whenever we'll go play soccer. Sometimes we befriended some guys on base that do play soccer like on the weekends, or like at the end of like after work we'll go hit up the field and play a few games, play like a little quick game of futbolito. And so he told me that there was a team that they were looking for some players, so I went to go to that practice, and it was so funny because I was like, wait, these are guys from El Ceros. And so we were playing I was playing in a team with a Mexican restaurant. It was kind of funny. Yes, there was a lot of jokes in my unit. Well, no, okay, I guess not a lot of jokes because we didn't really talk about it too much, but it was pretty cool. I did actually play for a Mexican restaurant. No, we were nowhere near qualifying for the U.S. Open Cup, but I just thought it was funny. It brought back a core memory that I completely forgot that happened. I did play for a Mexican restaurant for a soccer team. It was pretty cool. It was actually pretty fun. But yeah, man, hopefully April 16th we'll see. And also U.S. Open Cup is now available. Is going to be available on CBS Sports Network, Paramount Plus. So I think that's really cool because, like I said, I used to complain about who's going to be where can we view these games? Because you used to had to go on the team website, on the MLS team's website, or you had to go on YouTube. Different avenues. There wasn't like a set place to watch these matches, and now we do have a set place to watch these matches. So if you guys want to see what El Farolita is gonna do, go check it out, man. I think it's gonna be fun. I'll be watching them for sure. I'll be rooting for these guys. Hopefully maybe I can get a kid out of them. But anyways, I want to give a shout out to the Belly Up Podcast Network. Check out the website, BellyUpSports.com. Follow them on Instagram and X at BellyUpSports. Once again, subscribe to their YouTube channel, Belly Up Sports YouTube channel, so you can see all the other great podcasts that are available here on Belly Up Sports. And, of course, GolzTV, GolzTV. You heard Jose. He is the founder. He is the guy for GolzTV. Well, check out GolzTV, Golz.tv. Check them out. And also follow them on Instagram at Golz.tv, Golz.tv, and on the X at Golz_TV, Golz_TV. So you can see what's going on over there, Golz. Also, a shout out to Roosevelt Spencer. He's the namesake for the Roosevelt Spencer Player of the Year Award. He also does the beats for this podcast. So if you guys like the intro and outro for this show, that's the guy that made it. So if you guys need some beat work done, follow him on Instagram at ThatGuyDope. Once again, at ThatGuyDope. And he will take great care of you like he always does with us. With all that being said, man, thank you so much for listening to episode 213. Catch us next week for 214, where we're going to look at the tables as we're going into the final stretch of the season. Also, congratulations to PSG. They already won Ligue 1. And also, sorry, Southampton, you're going back down to the championship. But take care, guys.